Hi, freaks, and welcome to another episode. My name is Matt, and joining me tonight is Sue. Hi, Sue, how are we?
I'm fine. I'm really good, actually. It's quite a
Oh,
nice
quite a nice night,
night.
did you say?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little on the cold side, but it's not like stinking hot, so that's a good thing. Even though I prefer warm weather, I don't like to be hot.
True, it's good. Miss Goldilocks will call you. And speaking of
Yes.
Goldilocks, how are you, Nathan? Thanks for joining us.
How am I doing? How am I
Nice.
doing? Well, I'm COVID positive as of today, but making the most of it. Nice glass of wine,
Drink your
talking with you
medicine.
guys, and isolating here.
At least we can do this show with you in isolation.
Exactly. Yeah.
True. Well, thank you for joining us, Nathan, despite being on your deathbed.
Yeah.
I know.
Poor invalid.
Poor little guy. So let's get into it. So tonight we're going to be discussing the 2021 film. Oops, the old one is coming up, so I don't have the. It's coming up with the wrong poster. But anyway, we're watching
Oh, really?
the 2021 film Old. There's the poster. Which is a M. Night Shyamalan film. Sue, are you an M. Night Shyamalan fan?
I am, actually. I actually love pretty much all of his movies, even like the ones that other people don't, like Lady in the Water and Glass. I even liked all of those.
Okay.
There's only about one that I didn't like, which was The Last Airbender, which I have to admit I didn't actually watch. I watched like the beginning bit and went, "This isn't for me."
Okay.
But generally, I really like his aesthetic. I like his skewed view of the world. So yeah, I am a fan.
Which one's your favorite?
Oh God, probably
Not including
Signs.
this one because we don't want to know. Right.
Yeah, yeah. Signs. I think Signs probably my favorite.
Okay.
Nathan, how
Yeah, I
about
haven't
you?
watched. I've seen his earlier stuff, but I haven't watched a lot of the more recent stuff. So I haven't seen Signs. I did see Split. But yeah, the earlier ones like Unbreakable and Sixth Sense, obviously, they're great.
Yeah, they are great.
Yeah, I haven't
The villain.
seen his. I was just in researching the show, realized that I have missed quite a few of his more recent films, but I do
I've,
like his films, and Signs is my favorite as well.
yeah,
Um,
and the TV show. Have you watched the TV show? He's got a TV show called Servant, which is also pretty good. Really
Oh.
weird, but really good.
hmm. Um, so would we consider this one a horror film?
That's what I was wondering about. I wouldn't have, based on the trailer and before I saw it, I wouldn't have assumed it was horror, but Sue said horror, so here we are.
Well, it is listed as a horror
It
in I,
is.
but it's right on the edge.
Hmm.
Hmm.
It is right on the edge. I can see because it is. I do think it wants to scare you, so it qualifies in that way, but not in the way that other horrors do. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
did.
it's a
I did manage to trick my husband into watching it. He normally doesn't like horror films, and so for him to sit through the film and makes me kind of think it's not a horror, but at the same time, like there is some pretty horror-ish elements in it, like the stabbings and
Mm.
someone in the cave towards the end. Like it's yeah, I would classify it as a horror, but quite a mild horror.
Yeah, plus also what the concept of just like getting old before your time is kind of horrific for most adults.
That is
I
very
mean,
horrific.
it's a high fear. It's an inevitability, but it is a high fear for a lot of people.
Yeah, but that's
Mm.
why there's whole industry around like Botox and the beauty industry and
Uh,
everything. But
yeah,
it's because of the
absolutely.
fear of getting old.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. But no, it's something that some people have been questioning whether it's should be considered because is it a horror or not? But I think it is.
Hmm.
So should we get into it and discuss our best moments of the film?
Please
Yes.
do.
Okay, let's talk about our third best moments. Is there anyone that wants to go first? Sue, you look like you were saying yes to that.
Okay. Just gonna look at my notes. Yeah, I liked when like how the kids were getting older. I liked how it was revealed. Like you didn't see their faces from the beginning.
Hmm.
When they started to get older, it was shot from behind them. I liked how upset they were about it. They weren't like, "Yay, we're teenagers." They were actually confused and not happy about it. I liked when Maddox said that her thoughts have more color, but they're quieter. Like those sort of little descriptive things, I picked up on, and I quite enjoyed that sort of detail.
Hmm. Yeah, it was interesting, wasn't it? How they sort of explained all of that, and then also explained how they were growing, but their hair wasn't growing because the hair was
Yeah.
dead. Little things like that were quite clever as well.
Yeah, it's good detail because a lesser director or a lesser movie that probably would have just glossed over that sort of stuff and say, it doesn't matter, no one's gonna pick that up. But audiences pick that up.
Yeah, they preempt the questions before they
Yeah.
say.
So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, you really thought it through.
Yeah.
It's good writing.
I would
Yeah.
like to see his process in making a film, like, because he does cover all of those little details. Like, it's almost like they had like a planning session where they talked about what holes could they pick in the
Yes,
film.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, I have to admit, when I'm writing something, I try to think of that. Like, if I was reading this, what would I be like? Oh, well, how did they get there? Or what did they do that for? Or where did they get those clothes from?
Mm.
Like, they seem to answer all of that, having all the food ready for them because they knew they were going to have rapid growth and they're going to need more food. The fact that she said something like, "I brought extra bathers." The mum was like, "I brought extra bathers." So then you can understand why the grown daughter would have something to wear instead of just the bathers. Yeah, I thought those were clever touches.
Yeah.
Nathan, what was your third favorite moment?
Let's have a look. Actually, there were a few favorite moments, but one of them would potentially be, I mean, tense-wise, when Kara's climbing up the cliff trying to
Yeah.
get out, and everyone's all saying, "No, no, get down, get down, get down," and then you think they're like she's getting close to the end. Oh, she's gonna make it. She's gonna make
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And then suddenly she loses consciousness and falls
Yeah.
and just like drops.
Yeah.
It just happened so quickly that I was tense in that moment, and I actually gasped and sort of shocked in that moment.
And they avoided being graphic by not showing her
Yeah.
or not showing her really at all. They showed just enough that you
Yeah.
understood what.
Yeah, they did that a lot with this movie, and it again ties in with some of the other ones we reviewed, like Jaws and Alien, where they sort of give you the audience enough information that your mind fills in the gaps.
Absolutely.
And generally, the picture that we paint will probably be better or more horrific than what
Yes.
would be shown on screen anyway.
That's true.
Clever filmmaking, I think.
Yeah.
For me, the third favorite moment, the bronze moment, was cutting the tumor out of, is it Priska, the
Oh,
mum?
yeah.
That was on my list.
That was quite full on, like, and I think it was kind of the first part where you're like, oh wow, this is definitely magical, like how they can cut the skin and what the knock-on effect of that is. And then seeing that massive tumor like come out, like, yeah, it was disgusting.
It was disgusting.
And it was also like the moment where you're thinking, is she gonna survive? Like, what is this? How's this movie gonna veer off? Like, is she gonna die? And then the dad's looking after the kids. Like, how are people gonna be? Obviously, they're not all gonna make it to the end. So I wasn't sure at that point how the film was gonna progress. But I'm glad she survived.
Yeah, plus also they're just doing surgery with her on the beach, and that in itself is fraught with danger. Let alone
with a madman.
And the wound closing up so quickly as well, and people trying to hold her open. I was thinking, what's going to close up, and their hands are going to be like fused inside of her.
I liked that when they took it out as well, they were like talking about how it had infiltrated other things and that it had adhered to things. Like it wasn't just and out it goes, because that's not how it happens in real life.
But again, they didn't necessarily show all the gore. They showed a little bit, like cutting and that sort of stuff. But really, for most of that scene, the camera angles was actually on the doctor and the other people's faces. So we're getting reaction shots while our brains are filling in the gaps.
I really like, I forgot this guy, Ken Leung, who played Jaren, the nurse. He was from Lost. And I'm like, I love this guy. Like, he was really good in Lost. Like, whatever happened to him? Like, he's been so out of my spectrum of film watching. I haven't seen him in a long time.
Yeah, there are a few actors like that. Like Rufus, is it Rufus Sewell?
Yeah.
So he played the Doctor as well. So I hadn't seen him for a long time, but I loved him in like Dark City. So yeah, it's just weird seeing a few actors like that just pop up again.
Yeah. And let's move on to our second best moment. And Nathan, what was your second best moment?
Would have been Crystal in the cave.
That was the same for
Uh,
me. My second best moment's Crystal in the
Yeah, so
Cave.
when the brother and sister they're like obviously running out through trying to get out and they find Crystal there and she's throwing rocks at them in the dark anyways. That again, you don't really see what's going on. They're trying to light matches and you just get little glimpses of it. But then when she comes after them and how her body just keeps breaking and resetting as that's happening and for a
Disgusting.
woman who was so vain to begin with in the movie, she just ends up being hideously disfigured and dying a horrible death because of that. Becoming a
Yeah.
monster.
It
Yeah.
was really interesting, like seeing her arc, like right from the beginning, where she's talking about she's low in calcium, and he
Yeah.
sort of planted that seed, and then yeah, leading all the way, like with her vanity and her dickhead husband, like saying
Mm.
that she's looking old and needs to put some makeup on, and then
That
yeah,
was
it's
so
sort of
cruel.
that sort of winding down into this awful death.
Yeah. Well, she wasn't really a very nice character to begin with either.
No.
Well, I felt like she was more a product of how she'd been raised and how she'd been taught that her only value is her looks
Yeah.
rather than her being a bad person. Because she was a good, like, she obviously cared about her mum and she cared about her mother-in-law and like she had feelings. But so I think that they did well not making her completely black and white.
Yeah. And also her beginning scene where we'd see her at breakfast with her husband and daughter. And even little things that she's saying to her daughter is like, no, men won't like you if you don't do this or you
Mhm.
look like that. So that's again sort of passing on her already ideas and thoughts and fears.
Mm.
Yeah.
And then
Crystal's
to end
death
up
was
on that.
my list.
That was horrific.
She was in
Yeah.
my yes, her death was so horrific. That was in my list of moments.
Yeah.
That was your second bit?
No, well, that was in my other list.
Oh, okay. What's your second best moment,
Um,
Sue?
I love the beach. The beach is like my very favorite place, apart from the cinema. I love going to the beach. I like the smell, I like the sound, like everything about it. And he managed to make this beautiful beach seem like quite creepy and
Mm.
oppressive. I thought that was really well done. I mean, I think that the cliffs around it added a lot to it, but I really liked the cinematography, the way he used the location in different ways. When it was just one location, basically, it
Mm.
still never really got boring. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that's true. Like it was quite a small beach, but it was kind of like a stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there wasn't much on the beach. But yeah, he
No.
did manage to make it seem quite like an interesting place. Like home at some stages, awful at others. Like yeah.
Yeah, because most films that are like basically one location films, I tend to find a little tedious after a while, and I need a change. But I didn't feel that in this film, which I
Yeah.
thought.
Well, I guess it was a big enough beach that had little breakaway areas to have like different parts of drama and story happening at the same time.
Yeah, and
Mm.
different areas had different feels about them, like the area where they found all that rusted cutlery and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that felt like a darker portion of the beach. Whereas earlier they were cavorting in the water and having a great time, and it looked beautiful.
Mm.
So
Just on a side note, like I'd seen obviously the trailer. I didn't know too much about this film. Did you think, and also because of the um, poster, did you think that the water was going to be some contributing factor to them getting old? Like as soon as they went into the water, I'm like, oh no, like they're going in the water, or they're gonna get old because of being in the water.
that
Mm,
totally makes sense, but it hadn't occurred to me.
yeah, it hadn't
Uh,
occurred to me either.
I was like, oh, this is interesting. Like they're gonna go in straight away for a swim. I thought the evil was in the water, but yeah, I'm glad that it
Yeah.
didn't turn out that way.
Actually, interesting point there though, because when I saw the trailer, honestly, this movie thought, okay, that looks okay, but I'm not like going to bust out and go and see it just because I thought it looked like a really simple story. It's like, oh, what? There's some people on a magic beach and they suddenly get old. It's like, really? But the way they executed, not just, I mean, that was the concept, but it was more like the how and the why and how it was executed. That really drew me in and kept me interested. I thought that was really
Mm,
good.
I mean,
yeah.
I saw it basically because M. Night Shyamalan did it. It wasn't like I went, "Wow, that's a really intriguing
Yeah.
concept." Although I was curious what the reasons were going to be, but it was more to do with the fact that it was him.
Yeah, you had a bit more trust in it than I did, because I hadn't seen many of his things for a little while. So I was like, oh, okay, they're just like milking ideas now. It's just like at the end.
I just think that even when his films are not as successful as they could be, they're still super interesting, and he sees things in a different way than I'm used to. So I find them great and unique and clever and creative, and so many films are not these days.
Yeah, definitely. What about you, Matt? What else did you love about it?
Lots of things. Should we go on to one first best moment?
Yeah.
Oh, have you already done what was your second?
Did I? Yeah.
I don't think
I said Crystal's death, same as Nathan.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Okay.
No, missed that.
So the best moment, I'll go on to that then.
You just go ditto.
The Kappa parents dying. I thought that moment was really sweet. And like I said, I was watching with my husband. It's like, oh, like, isn't that nice? Like, for, when they had this, little tiff at the beginning. Well, not just a little tiff, but it was like they were on that holiday weighing up whether they are going to stay together. And then with that time on the beach, like growing old together, they saw the true value in their relationship and how much they actually loved each other. And when he said, like, this is the best time, like, I'm so happy we came to the beach, like, it just made me feel so. It was just such a great moment. Obviously, my favorite moment of the film. It was like, oh, this is everything. The film could have ended then for me. Like, it could have been like, well, that's the end of the film. They died and that was it. Like, I thought, that was the pinnacle of it for me.
Yeah, and I thought that was going to be the ending when they were passing away. It's like, okay, I don't really care what happens beyond this. But then there was this whole other bit.
But the way that they forgave each other and everything sort of that was bad that they thought was like worth breaking up for seemed to be insignificant, and
they said
just
it doesn't really matter.
Growing all really together and
how everything just fell away and they focused on, this is the person that I love regardless.
Yeah, so, I love that.
Yeah.
Sue, what was your favorite moment?
I really liked the way they did the eyesight and the hearing going in them. I thought the way they filmed it was good, and I don't know, I hadn't really thought about the fact that was going to happen, but of course it would.
Yeah.
And the way that they shot it so that you understood how they felt and how diminished their perception was now. I thought that was really well done.
Especially when it came to old Stabby, like, coming out of the darkness.
That was creepy.
That was a horrific moment. Like, it's like, what the hell was that? Like, it looked like he was like,
crawling out of the dark. But also his whole character arc as well. It's like, you could tell earlier on, like, especially we're at the scene where he was cutting the tumor out as well. Something wasn't quite right there. You could tell there's some sort of maybe dementia or something going on here. So he's obviously getting old. Everyone's on the beach is getting old, but degenerating in different ways.
What was your number one?
My number one would have been the bit that happened after Matt's favorite bit. So I like the sting in the tail. So I guess pretty much we thought everyone had died, but then it's pretty much the comeuppance where the brother and sister turn up at the hotel and give like the journal and basically burst the whole thing open. So I enjoyed, rather than just having a bit of a downer ending, it's like, yes, finally you guys get to pay
going down.
Exactly. I enjoyed that.
I enjoyed the same thing. Like, it felt like I had a payoff. Apparently that's very controversial because the book that it's based off of ended with them just being on the beach, I think. It didn't have that resolution at the end. So people either love or hate the ending. But yeah, I thought it was great how there was that extra layer of closure.
I think people need that sort of catharsis, especially having gone through this moment with these people, how crappy it is. And like, they might have had the best intentions, but you don't have the right to do that to people, regardless of your intentions.
You need comeuppance.
Yeah, and even though it's like a victory, they've lost 40 years of their lives and people they love, and like, you can never replace the things they've lost.
Exactly, but they can stop it from happening to more people, because they were like, what, they were like Project 73 or something.
Yeah, I know.
So yeah, so they've broken the chain, broken the cycle, I should say.
But it's also that thing of like moral dilemmas, like that
Mhm.
lady who had epilepsy. What she went through could save hundreds of thousands of
I
people
know.
like from epilepsy,
Yeah.
and maybe other
Yeah.
things that they've done in the 73 other experiments have helped people as well. And now what won't be discovered or will be discovered much slower, without
Yeah.
having that sacrifice.
I really liked that bit rather than just making them just seem like just mean villains, evil
Yeah,
scientists. They actually did have their hearts in the right place and they were trying to help a lot of people.
absolutely.
Plus, also, I
There is
liked
an argument
how
for it.
the mystery of the beach wasn't just, oh, it's a magic beach, which is what I wrote it off for in the trailer, but it was actually, they gave it some sort of scientific explanation.
Mm.
And I've actually spoken with people since who say, look, I actually work in minerals and all that sort of stuff. And that's like sort of, we have similar sort of theories. There's a lot of amazing things that happen on this planet that can't really be explained yet.
Oh wow.
So
I like
I've found that was, yeah, really, really good detail.
Also liked how once they did find, like had the experiment was concluded, they did sort of toast to the people who did sacrifice their lives.
Yes,
Mm.
very like moment of silence and stuff.
Yeah,
So,
there was a
okay.
respect there, kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I like when you said about the scientific thing, you know, how they would lose consciousness when they kept trying to get out of it. But how they explained why that was happening rather than just go, "Ooh, it's weird. We just can't get off the beach because we
Yeah.
can't." Like, they actually explained why that's happening.
Yeah. I think I would have attempted to do the really slow crawl out of there, like they had
Yeah,
suggested. It's like we've got all the time in the world. Like, come on, let's do it. Like,
I know.
I'm
hurry
trying.
up. Yeah. I also like the resolution that the two little boys met again.
Yeah.
Like that was a really sweet moment.
And
Yeah.
look, he puts, like he does that thing in his films where he has these little moments at the beginning where those kids are playing that game where they're doing the special language with each other, and you're just like, oh, that's really cute, little kid thing, but it becomes so important later on.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that as well. Like finding
Yeah.
out about the cop. Like, what's your name and occupation? It's like,
Yeah,
you're a
I
policeman,
know.
aren't you? It's like, okay, that paid off as well.
Right, I love those kind of little details that he always seems to have in his films. I think that's cool.
Yeah, like every detail was thought out and there for a reason.
Yeah, very deliberate filmmaking.
Yeah. Cool. So we had quite a few positive things. Was there any other last minute things we wanted to call out? There was quite a lot that I liked about the film, to be honest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at the beginning when they're driving to the resort and the name of the resort was obscured by leaves, I
Mm.
thought that was really cool. Like, I'm like, other filmmakers would have made a thing of, this is called the blah resort, but
Yeah.
it's creepier to not know exactly where
Yeah.
they're going or what this
Yeah.
place is. And it was more realistic. Like, no one's out there every day cutting the hedges. I also really liked the game of freeze tag with the kids were playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I love how he always seems to have things happening foreground, middle ground, background, and they're all clear. I thought it just looks really cinematic. And,
Yeah. What actually reminded me of quite a few sort of crash zooms, which you very
Yes.
rarely see in modern movies as well.
True. Yeah, he seems like someone who loves his craft.
Very much.
Yeah.
Mm.
There's like a joy to his films. Like it's, some of the
Yeah.
stuff isn't joyous, but there's like a real having fun with cinema is what I like about
Yeah.
his movie
Yes.
making. It's like, actually,
Agreed.
let's just not go through, 3 acts and be done. Like, let's actually play with this, like, and do
Yeah.
something different. Like it's a game. Cool. So let's go on to if it was up to me, which for me it's gonna be difficult. Because yeah, it's quite clever. So to think that I could say if we're up to me. But what was your third favorite? What the fuck moment, Sue?
You guys have covered 2 of them already in your good moments because like they're not, this is bad film in the film, but these are bad character actions, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it would have been Crystal at the beginning saying, "Don't slouch, boys don't like it." Like, I was like, oh, that made me bristle so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Oh, I just wanted to leap in there and go, "What are you doing?" Like,
Yeah.
so unhealthy for your daughter, for Christ's sakes. But yeah, like obviously that fits in with who she is, and it feeds into who she is going to be and who she is raising her daughter to be, all things going the way that they were going. But it pissed me off.
Yeah, I actually had that on my list as well. So while she was my favorite bit, she was also my least favorite bit.
Yeah.
Which it was just fitting because it had that whole journey.
The misogyny is coming from inside the house. Like, come on.
Yeah.
My third bit was finding out the secret note, or actually going back to it so late, like in the game. It's like, oh, seriously, like, and it was something that's not necessarily bad, but it was like something that was like, oh, come on, like, why wouldn't you have looked at that before? Like, your parents just die, and now you want to build a sandcastle, and then it reminds you to decode the message. Of course, that kid's left you a message of how to get out of the bloody beach. Like, of course, they couldn't have done it sooner, but it was very frustrating.
His brain is a 6-year-old brain, so I feel like he just couldn't focus on things that, like, an adult will probably have that in their head along with other things. But every time he was thinking was sandcastle, and then
that's the thing. When he suggested his sister, let's make a sandcastle, and both go, yeah.
I know.
Just like little kids. It's like, so I thought that was actually good detail. But tying in with what you just said, one of my probably worst bits or picky bits would be, all right, the little boy who gave them the code in terms of how to get up eventually. How did he know? Has he been there? Is he watching? Does he know what happens down at that beach?
They did say something. So go ahead, Sue.
He just said that his uncle doesn't like the seaweed, which is like the coral, which is not the same as you can get out if you go through the coral.
Yeah, like, but also, how does the boy know about the beach, and how much does he know, and how does he know the way out?
They did cover that. I think they said that his uncle must have really hated the coral because he must have gone on about it so much that the kid had picked up about it, and maybe it's not a way out, but should we give it a go anyway?
Yeah, I assumed it was just a conversation that he'd overheard of him going, fucking coral, like, Jesus Christ. Well, I don't know. Something like that.
Okay.
So was that your third?
Yeah, that was one of my bits that just didn't quite sit right with me. Everything else had like a lot of attention and detail. That bit I just didn't quite get. How
would you have changed it?
Well, that's the thing. It's like they've sort of buried it all in such a... It's like this TV series Lost. There's so much going on and so much detail going on that there was no way they could actually have a satisfying conclusion to that. So
you'd have a scene where he hears his uncle say it, but then
maybe something like that. Yeah, just a little bit more about connecting the two dots from here to there.
There was two things I want to say. Well, one is about the coral. It just seems so obvious that the coral. It seemed like a weird looking coral, like that white rocks sticking out of the ocean. Like, why didn't they? I don't know. Why didn't they investigate that sooner as well?
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of a bit glaring, and that's why I did sort of towards the end start pre-guessing. Like, it wasn't like I guessed it at the beginning, but I was like, oh, here we go. That's going to be the way out. The boys' puzzle's going to tell them how to sort of point them in that direction. So that's why that was in my third spot. But you did remind me, Nathan, a bit that I did like. I thought it was really nice how they said, do you think that everyone thinks like they're kids when they're grown up? Like, do they have these childish moments? And I'm like, that's a cool line, because it is like, I often feel like, have my childish moments, and it's like, oh, like...
Yeah, same. I'm just pretending to be an adult sometimes.
Yeah. But also, as you grow up, all right, you've got more experiences, more perspective to draw upon and that sort of stuff to make decisions. Whereas if you're a kid, a 6-year-old in a 20-year-old body or whatever, you haven't had that time to have those experiences and those learning lessons and that sort of stuff. So you're just going to be a 6-year-old in a 20-year-old body.
Yeah.
But are we? Like, I don't know. Like, I just thought it was a nice little moment that it makes you think personally. Actually, sometimes I do feel like an 11-year-old wanting to make sandcastles.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely. And like when Cara said about how they missed out on so many things, like we missed out on our prom and all these things that sort of grow you as a person, and they haven't had any of those experiences.
Well, that also is sort of how she got pregnant as well, because they didn't really understand how it all
No.
worked, or they thought, no, it doesn't happen the first time.
And he
And they were
was so
just,
upset by it. I thought that was really sweet that he was like, "Oh, no." Like,
I
what's
know.
wrong? Yeah. Yeah, well
Yeah.
done. But yeah, okay.
So that was like a little Blue Lagoon moment, but in fast
It
forward.
was a bit Blue Lagoonish.
See, the
Yeah.
coral, I just assumed with the coral that they would not swim towards something that's, like, opposite the exit. Like, they would just go to where they think the exit is, whereas the coral's on the other side. So I just assume you'd be like, "Why would I go somewhere that's away from where I wanna go?"
But it seemed like it was a cove, so why would you always go to the way with the trees? Like, why wouldn't you try going out with the where the coral was? Like, I don't know.
I think if they think they've only got limited time and they might pass out, they're just gonna go with the direct route that they could
Yeah.
see.
Plus, also Jared, was it Jared? He'd already
Jared.
tried swimming out, but then obviously didn't make it and got washed back up as well. And he was meant to be a strong swimmer, and he had already explained how much, I guess, they were up against if they were swimming out. So distance-wise and time-wise, and against the current and the big waves and all that sort of stuff as well.
Oh, and I like the bit with the lady the epileptic lady when she was like, I've got a sister and like she was older, but now I guess I'm older and we had this problem and now who gives a shit? Like I just want to see her. And I thought that
And
was
she
really
found pool noodles.
Yeah, why didn't they
Yeah.
use the pool noodles again? Yeah. Yeah, I just thought that they would have. They mentioned the coral at the very beginning, and then it was sort of forgotten about, and yeah. So we could move on to our second favorite what the fuck moment.
Sure.
So who wants to go first? Nathan, why don't you tell us what your second?
My other one probably would have been just the rapper. We didn't really find out how he got on the beach. Was he just left behind from a previous experiment? Did I miss something?
They did cover something. Because both him and the girl who died first,
Yeah.
were in the went to the same
They were in that
place.
group.
Yeah,
Yeah, they were in that group, but they got there earlier.
Yeah. But did they just stumble across it, so they weren't even part of a group or anything like that?
I don't know. I don't remember what he said.
Mm.
I think didn't he say they went for a bit of a walk or something? So maybe they did just.
Hmm. And we don't know how long they'd been there for either. There was all a bit of
That
a.
was the night before. He said last night. I
Yeah.
thought he
Okay.
said last night.
They never really explain why he had a blood nose, though.
Yeah, no, they
Yeah,
did
that's
touch
why
on
he was
that.
there because he had chronic blood. He had a clotting disorder.
Oh, okay.
Hmm. But anyway, that was just a question mark that I had. Maybe the details in there I just didn't.
I don't. It's a bit vague. I don't really remember
Yeah.
exactly. So I understand. Yeah, but when you said rapper, for some reason I was thinking like a candy rapper. I'm like, what a rapper? What are you
Oh,
talking
like MC Hammer rapper.
about? Like, no. It's funny what your brain does.
So what was your second moment? WTF moment?
Yeah, Crystal's death because it was so horrific that it was shocking. So
Hmm.
yeah, her death, like not what the fuck as in that's terrible, but what the fuck as in that's horrific, and I can't even imagine dying slowly or bent up in the cave.
Hmm.
Yeah.
As your body's like gradually breaking and then healing and breaking and healing.
Yeah, horrible.
Yeah, and you're aware of what's going on.
Yeah, when she does that freak out, you know, when it starts, and then she goes, ah, and you're like,
Thrashing
you can
about.
just hear it happening in the dark. It's like, oh, that's horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cracking all
Yeah.
the bones. My
Great.
second WTF moment was M. Night Shyamalan. I don't mind a bit of a cameo, like from production,
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
but I thought he was in it way too much. It kind of took me out of the film that he was in it.
Who was he? The bus driver?
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
So I'm like, oh,
I mean,
do you have to put
Until you
yourself in
mentioned
the
it just now, I'm
film?
just
Like,
thinking, who was
I
he?
do an
Yeah.
Alfred Hitchcock walking the dogs in the background, but like, you don't need to be so featured in the film when there's not that many outside characters from the main cast.
All right.
He
Well,
did
well,
that
you
in
knew
Lady
who he
in the Water.
was, so that affected you. I didn't, so it didn't stand out at all to me.
Yeah, I didn't really have a problem with it because he'd done it in Lady in the Water and he was a good character in that too. So I kind of just accept that as part of his films, like Clint Eastwood being in a Clint Eastwood movie or something,
Yeah.
rather than someone who's not an actor or can't act. Like I feel like his acting's fine.
Yeah.
Not like
Is
when
it-
Quentin was in Django and you're like, "Hey,
Yeah,
maybe don't do that again." But I can see that if that, yeah, awareness of who he is could take you out.
Cool. Let's go on to our number one WTF moment. Sue, what was your top WTF moment?
That would be Charles. It would be hard enough to be going through that without some unhinged, dangerous person. He made me just so uncomfortable, like, which is the point.
Hmm.
But every time he's on screen, I'm just anxious and uncomfortable, and he acted that so well. And all those little details of him going, that Jack Nicholson film, what was the name of it?
Marlon Brando.
Yeah, that it just was. It felt so authentic that it made me very uncomfortable,
Yeah.
which is clever, good, but
Which is just like in, I guess, modern society. It's like when people start doing that, we don't really know how to deal with them. It's just like, oh, can you just like go away and like
I
just be
know,
outside for a
like
little bit?
someone I
We
want to
don't
move
think
away
about
from.
that.
Plus.
And
Yeah,
that's
they're-
sad, but it's what happens.
Mhm.
He was also like a right from the word go. There was hints of what was to come, like when he said to the bus driver, like, "Can we get some help? Like getting down to the thing. There's a elderly woman here, and a lady with a child." Like it's kind of rude. Like,
Well, yeah, he just seemed like a bit of a rude, arrogant
Bitchin'.
doctor. He was obviously successful at what he does, but then he's obviously got a new, younger wife, and going off on holidays and that sort of stuff. But yeah, there's little hints along the way that something happened. There's a reason why they're on that holiday as well.
And she was trying so hard to be supportive, but I think she was well out of her depth.
Oh yeah.
the number one spot for me was kind of in a similar vein. I really can't put my finger on it. I've put down Rufus Sewell or Sewell, whatever his name is. I'm not sure whether I'm not really a fan of him, like his acting. So that kind of put me off. It also bothered me how she wouldn't talk about his character and say what was actually wrong with him. And it was also annoying, like how he was just sort of forgotten about. Like I knew as soon as she put that knife in the bag, like that he was going to get it again. It's like, couldn't you have thrown it in the water? Like it wasn't explained away enough, like all of the other points in the film were. Like I just kind of read that character the most, and yeah, he annoys me. I don't know. Yeah, so that's similar to you, Sue, but yeah, slightly different. And Nathan, what was your number one moment?
I'm actually just looking through my list. I think I've actually covered off on them all in no
I think you
particular
covered
order.
2 and 1 as well.
I did. So it
Oh,
was
did you?
Crystal, the rapper, and the little boy, and his clues. So yeah, I'm done.
Oh yeah.
You're done. Okay, let me just go on to our final moments. So we're going to talk about our final thoughts. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Let's go with Nathan.
Overall, look, it was a strange movie. Felt a bit like an extended Twilight Zone episode, which is not a criticism. I quite like that style. And it's like the original X-Files episodes are more like standalone mysteries. I like that a lot. It gradually unfolded and drew us in interesting ways, much more than what I expected. It added layers to the ensemble of characters. And yeah, I was surprisingly engrossed with it. So the trailer gave away a lot, but not too much. Kept it interesting, and yeah, Pash.
I was going to do Pash prematurely from what you'd said. Let's just quickly put that back on again. Let's go to Sue. What do you think, Sue?
Well, I was actually going to see this at the movies. Like I had it all booked and ready to go, and then COVID happened and all the cinemas shut down. So it was one of those ones that I was really frustrated that I couldn't get to see when I wanted to see it. So when I finally did get around to seeing it before this viewing, and remembered feeling, I don't know, I wasn't sure how I felt about it because I had very high expectations. But this time around, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good film. It's really interesting and thought-provoking, kind of moving in some parts, really well made. But it's also quite depressing, and it's relentlessly downbeat. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I enjoy it so much as just think it's a good film. I would revisit it, which is weird for a film that I found a bit depressing. But yeah, a Pash, because I did like it. It was a well-made film.
Cool. So yeah, I obviously like the film as well. Like you guys have covered, it has so many good moments. I think I liked that there was it was kind of really good depth to it. Like the beginning of it set it up really well, and they paid that off. It very easily could have been a film that you went away feeling disappointed with, like cheated, like with the ending
Yeah.
if they'd cut it short, or if there was things that didn't make sense. But this film like was really clever in that it covered up everything, and you left feeling, well, I felt quite satisfied with the ending. I thought the cast were really good. I thought it was like a really eclectic cast. Like the diversity in the cast was amazing. Having the family, the two parents being, I think they were French or some
Yeah.
European country. I really liked that it wasn't just like a typical sort of scenario that you would see in a normal Hollywood blockbuster. So I thought, yeah, this film had a lot of layers, and yeah, like Yusu, I think it is one that I really do want to revisit, and I feel like I'll get even more out of it on second viewing. So yeah, it's definitely a Pash for me too.
Yeah.
3 Pashes.
Pashes around. It was way better than I expected.
To be honest,
Yeah.
I didn't know how you guys would feel because it has been 50-50 with a lot of people, and I really didn't know how you guys would react to it. So I'm so pleased that we all enjoyed it and seem to have gotten different things out of it.
Yeah.
And
Look,
I didn't actually think of the diversity part and the fact that most horrors are a group of young people. It's nice to have all different ages, all different genders, all different types of people experiencing this.
which I guess is in part maybe because it wasn't set in America or set in England. It was set because often when you go on holiday to like a tropical destination, there are people from all over the world there, not just your country.
Oh, this is true. Yes, that's true.
Yeah. And the lady with epilepsy, she's actually British. Like, I actually like I've seen her mainly in British things. Nikki Amuka Bird, who played Patricia. Yeah, I've really liked her. She's been in Torchwood, and in this show called Survivors, which was like a post-apocalyptic show.
I haven't seen either of those. She was familiar to me.
Yeah, she's been in quite a few things. Like if you look in IMDb, I also liked the young Maddox, who was also in and Just Like That. She played Charlotte's youngest child in that.
Okay.
Sex and the City.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know who you mean. When she's a young, not a teenager.
No, yeah, the 11-year-old. She played whatever her name is in and Just Like
And
That.
I love Alex Wolff. I think Alex Wolff is really good in things. I think he's always good value.
Was that the boy when he grew up? What else has he been in? Because I couldn't place him.
Hereditary, Jumanji.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
Got
a few things.
Yeah.
I like him. He always is more than I expect him to be. But I also think that M. Night Shyamalan, he's showed like a lot of compassion to all of his characters, even if they weren't the nicest. He was compassionate towards them and allowed them to be not just black and white.
Exactly. That was very well done. Lots of detail.
Yeah, so do yourself a favor and check out Old. It's currently streaming on Amazon Prime in Australia. I'm assuming that may be the same across the world as well. But yeah, it's definitely worth a watch. It makes me want to go back and watch a few more M. Night Shyamalan films, especially now that poor Bruce Willis got announced today that he's going through some awful stuff, and they kept playing a lot of because he's been in a couple of M. Night Shyamalan movies. They've played a few clips, and it's like, oh, that's sad about Bruce Willis, but I do want to watch those films.
Well, then we can celebrate Bruce Willis.
I read an article today about Hudson Hawk, but I don't think I'll revisit that.
Oh no,
No.
or Moonlighting.
No.
Okay, well, thank you so much, freaks, for joining us tonight. Remember to like, subscribe, and follow our YouTube channel and also our social media. We've got Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Sue's been posting some amazing things on Instagram. Was it you, Sue, that posted the shark upside down
That was
pictures?
It was, yeah.
Very creepy. So check them out on our Instagram. Until next time, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you soon. Bye, Nathan and Sue.
Bye.
Bye.